Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Almost There, Twisted Tale novel here on Disney Magic Zach. This is chapter 45. Let's get into it. China rushed through the front door and stopped, dread rooting her where she stood. She pressed her hand to her chest at the sight of her father's huge body sprawled on the sofa, his head cradled in her mother's lap. His skin was ashen and wrinkled. He looked years older than he had when she'd seen him at the restaurant just an hour before. "I'll be right back," she heard Lewis say, but all her focus was on her parents. Trying to hurry to their side. She knelt down on the floor next to them, took her father's hand in hers. His fingers were gnarled, the skin papery thin. "What's going on, Mama?" "I don't know," she answered. Her mother looked up at her, and Tiana saw true fear in her eyes. "He was just fine when he came home. He went to the bathroom to wash up and get ready for the big night at the supper club. When he came out, his hands had wrinkled up like a dried prune. I thought maybe he'd soaked in the tub too long, but then I noticed the grey hair at his temples." The grey was no longer just at his temple. More than half of her daddy's beautiful dark hair was now peppered with wiry grey strands. "Hey, baby girl," he called, in his voice a thready whisper. He peered up at her with rheumy eyes. "I don't think I can make it to the supper club tonight," he coughed. "I don't know why I'm so tired." "Don't worry about the restaurant," Tiana said. "We won't be opening tonight anyway." She wouldn't explain about the bugs or the food they left abandoned. None of that was important at the moment. The restaurant. The vials were there. Tiana wondered if she gave the usual potion to him now. Would his illness be reversed? "Emma, I have something that may help. I'll be back as soon as I can." She raced from the house, making it to the supper club and back in record time. She hastened to her father's side and uncapped the smaller vial. "Hey, Daddy," Tiana said, putting the vial up to his lips. "Drink this." "What's that you're giving him?" her mother asked him in a panicked voice. "Just give it a few minutes, Mama. Trust me." But could she trust Facilier to have been telling her the truth? She still didn't trust the new larger concoction, but what about the one she'd been using these past months? Did this tincture really have any effect whatsoever on her father's fate? Janet could hear her heartbeat thumping in her ears as the seconds ticked by. She zeroed in on the grey hairs on her father's head, willing them to start turning back to their dark brown colour. She studied the wrinkles creasing his once smooth skin, praying they would even out. "Come on, come on, come on," Tiana murmured. But after several minutes had passed, it was clear the potion she'd been adding to her gumbo all this time was worth nothing. It had all been a charade. That damned shadow man. There was a knock at the door. "You expecting somebody?" Tiana asked her mother. Eudora shook her head. She walked over to the front door and opened it. Lisette stood outside on the porch. "Tia Landed told me where to find you," she said. China's first instinct was to turn her away, but Lisette had done nothing wrong. In fact, she helped her when she had no incentive to do so. "Come in," Tiana said, moving out of the way so that she could enter. "Mama, Daddy, this is my friend Lisette. Lisette, this is my mother Eudora and my father James." "Hello," Lisette said, her eyes immediately zeroed in on James. "He isn't well." "No, he isn't," Eudora said, as if to punctuate her statement. James coughed again. It was hoarse and brittle, and sent a chill down Tiana's spine. "He's very weak," Eudora continued. Lisette walked over to the sofa and went to touch James's forehead, but Eudora pushed her hand away. "You don't have to worry, Mama. Lisette is a herbalist. She's a healer. If anybody can help Daddy, she can." Lisette laid the back of her hand to James's forehead, then along his forearms. She used her fingertips to gently press against his glands, starting behind his ears and travelling down his neck until she reached his chin. China stood back and watched as the young girl went through a methodical assessment of father's symptoms. "He isn't feverish," Lisette said. "That cough doesn't sound good at all." There was another knock at the door. Before Tiana could answer it, Naveen and Lewis walked in. "I brought Naveen to see if he could help," Lewis said. "Thank you, Lewis," Tiana said. "And I'm sorry, for earlier." She owed him an apology for being so cross, but in true Lewis fashion, he seemed to have no ill will towards her. "It's okay, Tiana," he said. Naveen came to stand behind her. He put one hand on her shoulder and gave it another one of those reassuring squeezes. Despite all the months she'd spent avoiding him, Tiana could not have been more grateful to have him near her right now. "Where's Lottie?" she asked. "She's at home, waiting for her father to return," he answered. Tiana's stomach flipped as she remembered the conversation with Dr. Facilier. He had missed LaBeouf and all the rest. She had no doubts about that. Tiana was determined to find them. She had to figure out what was ailing her father too. "I don't understand what's happening," Tiana said, looking down at him. "He was just cooking with me at the restaurant. How did he become so frail so quickly?" "I'm not sure what it is either," Lisette said, "but I can whip up a tincture to help build up his strength to get rid of that cough." She gathered her skirts around her and pushed herself up from where she knelt next to the sofa. Here's what I'll need. She listed a number of herbs, many of which Tiana fortunately had in her kitchen. I don't know where we're going to get ivy leaves, Tiana said. There are several herbalists in the French Quarter. You may have to ask around, but I'm sure someone has some. I'll go to the quarter, Lewis volunteered. Bring back as much as you can, Lisette told him. She looked down at Tiana's father. At the very least, it'll keep him comfortable. What can I do? Tiana asked. She couldn't just stand there while her father suffered. You can show me to the kitchen and help me get started. We'll have to grind the thyme and elderflower into a powder. If we get started now, we can be done by the time the scaly one is back with the ivy leaves. Tiana kissed her daddy on the forehead and led Lisette to the kitchen. They spent the next half hour collecting and preparing the ingredients for the medicinal syrup, and once Louis returned with the ivy leaves, Lisette was able to complete the final steps. The young girl also made a broth of the marrow from the chicken bones Tiana had set aside for soup stock. Okay, Lisette said, carrying a coffee mug filled with the concoction into the living room where Tiana's father's lay. Try to get him to drink at least half of this. After handing the mug to Eudora, Lisette joined Tiana, Naveen and Lewis, who all stood by, nervously watching James sip the steaming liquid. In just the hour since she returned home, her father seemed to have aged another 10 years. Spots dotted his hands and forearms, and skin around his mouth, and eyes had wrinkled even more. Tiana placed a hand on Lisette's forearm. Thank you. Now it's just rest and prayers, Lisette said with a shrug. I wish I could do more. Maybe Tia Lande can help. Tiana hesitated. Tia Lande isn't a bad person, and I don't like you thinking she is, Lisette said, as if she could read Tiana's mind. Miss Rosalande lied to me, Tiana said. If she did, then she had a good reason. Lisette jutted her chin toward James. Let's just watch over your daddy for now. And that was exactly what they did all night long. Tiana, her mother, Lisette, Naveen, and even Lewis sat in the tiny living room, keeping vigil over her father's steadily weakening body.